Chapter 4. Zeke stared at the stock photo on the screen, the green palm fronds belonging to some far-off location. He was trying to think, but there were so many thoughts going through his mind that he couldn't coherently put a single one together. After several minutes, though, one decision did call through the noise. Logging in, he pulled up his company's HR site, putting in for his sick time and his remaining PTO. Though the focus of the job had made him feel better, he wanted to put that focus towards something that wasn't an obligation, that wasn't his job, something that was selfishly for himself. He connected with his manager, letting her know he wasn't feeling well and was going to call it a day. His guilt popped up again as her kids danced behind her in the video call. "Hey, Lena, before I go," Zeke started, knowing he needed to say something, but knowing he probably shouldn't. Well, you know my brother's an astronomer, right?"
"Yeah, friend. Isn't he with NASA?"
"Yeah. Well, we spent yesterday with my parents and... Lena, you should really go grocery shopping. You don't seem to have nearly enough water. Also, your cabinets are looking a little bare. I think you're really needing to stock up on some canned goods, too." He seriously doubted there was any way anyone was actually listening in on him, and he probably could just come out and tell the woman on the other side of the screen. But with something of such magnitude, Zeke didn't want to run the risk.
"Oh no, we just went shopping last night. Derek and I took the girls and picked them up some dolphin onesies. We got water and stuff like that too, friend."
"I don't think so, Lena. Trust me. Then, once you go get those, you should really think about taking the girls somewhere for Christmas. Take them somewhere unforgettable."
"Okay, friend,"
his boss said with hesitation and a slight concern.
"Everything okay, Zeke?"
"Just remember what I said, and feel free to tell the team. Last I saw, they looked like they were out of water and canned goods, too. Thanks for everything, Lena. Merry Christmas." Zeke registered a brief and slight realization come across his boss's face.
"Zeke!"
He closed his laptop before she had a chance to finish. He stood, rubbing his eyes with his hands. He wanted to cry for her, for his team. He may have had a lot of reservations about his job, and as menial as much of it was a pretty good gig. The best part about it, though, had been his coworkers. His direct team had a total of 6 people, himself included, and as much as coworkers who worked together digitally could be, they were friends. He was going to miss spending time with them. It wasn't uncommon for them to hop into video conferences while doing administrative tasks. Some days, they'd spend hours going through emails, requests, and tasks while talking about everything from God to K-pop. They had been amazing people to spend his time with, and he hoped the bit of warning he could give them would be enough for them to get some preparations in. Putting it out of his mind, knowing that there was nothing more he could do, he moved to a pair of dry erase boards he had on his office wall. He erased the work notes plastered all over them, writing instead, "What will you do before the world ends? Number 1. Taking a step back, he stared at the board, Cagney coming into the room at the sound of Zeke moving around. The pit mix sat with a wine, his eyes watching Zeke as the man distractedly and repeatedly popped the cap of a marker off and on. Reading the words he'd written, they seemed to hit differently. He'd actually been asked that question before, in a way. What would you want to do if you knew you had 6 months left to live? It was a rather common hypothetical. However, it had always been just that, a hypothetical. If not hypothetical, it was at least a question that would really only hold weight a bit later in his life. Now it was literal. What did he want to do in literally the last 6 months before the world ended? He erased the question at the top, rewriting a bucket list for the end of the world. An hour later, he had only managed to write down one item. Spoiling his dogs was, he figured, a given, but that wasn't going to take up the whole time, even if he wanted it to. Studying the board, his own words to his boss began ringing through his head. He was a moron. Planning what he'd spend his time doing should be a secondary concern. First, he needed to make sure he had as many supplies as he could. He needed to stock up on his own water and canned goods. Looking down at Herman, Zeke made a mental note to call his vet in order to get the Chihuahua's arthritis medicine filled. He also needed to make sure he had enough of their food stocked up. Getting supplies. That would be his first task. He'd been paid pre-holiday, and he knew as he got in his car that he wouldn't be paying any of his bills, including his mortgage, ever again. He was going to spend a sizable chunk of the check and get as much as possible in one trip. Zeke's town had just one real grocery store. The Family Dollar sold some food and drinks too, but not as a full grocery store. He was afraid if he were to go and clear out the real store, they may not get fully restocked before the news broke, and he surely didn't want to screw over the people in his town. Because of this, he took the near hour-long drive into Phoenix, heading for a big box store he knew would be resupplied many times over before the announcement came. He got several strange looks from the employees as he walked back in for the 5th time. Being alone, he could only do one cart at a time, and he had done 4 trips for water alone. He would come back on his next payday for more, but before concern got too high, he had decided to load his cart to the brim with dog food and head to another store for the canned goods. After 6 trips to a second location, Zeke made a trip to a cannabis dispensary, picking up a wide selection he hoped would last until the apocalypse. From there, Zeke made the long trek back to his house. The entire hour, Zeke's mind kept returning to his coworkers. Having only ever met one of his team in person, he had always found it strange that he felt so close to them. He had to tell them. Damn the consequences. If everything would be gone soon, what would it matter if the government found out he told a couple of random people? It wasn't like his coworkers were the kind to cause a panic. If he knew them like he thought he did, he knew how each would probably react. He was going to tell them. He wouldn't be exact if he could avoid it. He wouldn't flat out say the world is going to end in 6 months because another planet will annihilate it, but he would say it all the same. Before unloading his vehicle when he pulled into his carport, Zeke went into his house, let his dogs outside to bathe in the cool afternoon, and logged back onto his work laptop. Urgent. Meet now. If you're on a call, get off it. This literally is the only thing that should matter. He reread his words before sending them in his team's work chat. If he were to send it, there would be no turning back. He knew he couldn't live with himself if he turned back, though. He copied over a meeting link and, taking a deep breath, hit enter. As he got the meeting opened and his camera on, Ren was already joining. Ren and Zeke actually went back a few years. They had worked together at a previous job, and Ren had actually helped Zeke get his current position. They had a lot in common, including their love for movies and Star Wars. Zeke had always felt that Ren liked it a little bit more because it allowed him to shorten his name of Lauren. It had always been a source of name-calling, but with Kylo Ren, Ren had been able to somewhat reclaim the name. Ren's camera turned on, and his background of the Death Star blowing up Alderaan hit Zeke differently. "Hey man, what's up? What's going on? Your message seemed pretty crazy." "Yeah," Zeke said with a faint smile. "Just you wait. But can you actually change your background?" "What, not feeling the destruction of Alderaan today?" Ren laughed, unknowingly sitting in a similar position to those on that fictional planet. "Not particularly. Can you change it?" Ren noted the seriousness in Zeke's voice. "Sure," he said, matching the seriousness. The background flipped to a picture of the generic image he used when meeting with clients, just as the other team members started coming in.
"All right, friend," Lena said as she entered the meeting. "You're really starting to scare me now."
Harvey was next to enter. "Hey guys, what the fuck is going on?" he said just as Lena finished. Celine and Kimmy came in at virtually the same time, and everyone started talking. Zeke held up his hands to the cameras, trying to get everyone to calm down. "What's going on, Zeke? Did you find out something about the new bonus structure?" Harvey asked. "No, guys. Look," Zeke started as they let him speak. "Before anything else, just know that what I'm going to say, I'm serious about it. This isn't a joke, okay?" What the hell, Zeke? You got me about ready to need another pair of pants over here, Ren said anxiously. I don't know if I can be exact or how many details I can go into because, as paranoid as this may sound, I truly don't know who's listening. Look, when the Earth was forming, did you know that there wasn't a moon originally? Earth was a lot smaller too, but one day another protoplanet, a planet that's still early in its creation, came along the path of Earth. That protoplanet was called Theia. It was about the size of Mars.
Zeke, you know I love you, but why did you give us a heart attack only to go over a science lesson? Celine asked. I'm supposed to be starting a meeting right now.
Yeah, man. Where are you going with this? Harvey asked with the slightest hint of foreboding. I promise, Celine, it's got a point. Look, when that protoplanet hit the young Earth, it was a collision unlike anything you can imagine. It made the Earth larger. It changed what the Earth is made of right down to the core. And from that collision, we got our moon. Life on this planet owes its very existence to that collision. Without it, there's a possibility we'd never have had tides. I mean, without those, life never leaves the ocean, and with a different makeup of the planet's core, we may not have had the magnetic field to support life even in the oceans. Okay, so the moon was created in a big collision. I mean, that's cool, Ren said. But dude, what the hell are you talking about? You made it sound like the world was ending or something. Ren chuckled at what he thought was an absurd thought. You all know my brother's an astronomer, right? They all nodded, this sudden turn from the seemingly obscure science lesson to a much more localized and relatable subject, giving them pause. Well, knowing the story of the moon, and knowing my brother is an astronomer, think about life. What is it?
Stop doing this to us and just tell us, Kimmy said, just ready to get on with it. The answer to Zeke's question came through his headset, one of Lena's daughters in the background coming through. Zeke wished he had asked for them to put their headphones in, but it was too late.
It's a circle, the circle of life,
the little girl said happily before starting to sing the song. It didn't take long for the realization to wash across the camera Zeke was looking at. That's right, Zeke said. That's right. And the circle is going to close on May 4th.
Friend, what are you saying?
Lena asked, worry coming over her face. A young Filipino-American, Lena's features were often softer, wrinkles taking effort in creation. But in that moment, her sudden level of worry made her look a decade older. He's saying the fucking world is going to end, Harvey interjected. No, you're not, Z, Celine said, a smile full of denial crossing her face. Deciding that the likelihood of his house being tapped or his computer being watched was minimal, he responded. Yeah, I am. Yeah, Zeke's just fucking with us, Kimmy reiterated. Don't mess with us, Ren chimed in. We got kids, man. You can't be making us all scared like this. I'm not trying to make you scared. I want you guys to know so that you can prepare some. You're lying, Celine said. I'm telling you, it's crazy, but it will happen. In 6 months. I can't say anything more about it because my mind kind of broke when my brother told me, so a lot is still foggy, but just take it seriously. Get stocked and supplied with whatever you can. In the end, the very end, it won't matter, but it'll give you a leg up when things start to fall apart. The UN is supposed to have some big announcement just after New Year's. They don't want it to ruin the holidays, let everybody have one last normal one, I guess. They can give the details better than I can, and the month of not knowing every tiny thing isn't going to make a difference. Just spend this next month like there won't be another. Because after New Year's, yeah, the planet will still have 5 months left, but society won't. What the hell? Ren choked. Why hasn't anyone said anything about it? Like a sleuth or something? Celine asked. Don't quote me on this, but it was just so faint that most backyard astronomers couldn't see it. Maybe, But I bet NASA edited their photos too, Harvey added. Then if a backyard astronomer saw it, I bet they paid them off. Probably gave them a fortune to keep quiet. Or those backyard astronomers may have decided to commit suicide by shooting themselves twice in the back of the head, Harvey said. Honestly, it's the government. Nothing would surprise me, Zeke responded.
Still, how has someone not seen it? Kimmy added with agitation, her mind lagging behind a bit with the news.
I really don't know. Even if they had, though, it wouldn't change anything.
So what do we do? Like, what does that mean? Kimmy asked.
I know it sounds melodramatic, but you know how the asteroid meant no more dinosaurs? This means no more Earth. We can't stop it. All we can do is choose how to approach it on a personal level.
You really aren't kidding, friend?
I wish. I really do wish I was just being some asshat with a shitty sense of humor.
I don't know if I hate you or love you for telling us. Celine's expression showed she was beginning to believe.
Well, if you stock up on supplies and ammo for your guns now, I guarantee when the stores are empty, you'll be glad. When the world finds out, I doubt you'll have another chance to get supplies so easily.
No one said anything for a long moment. Ren turned off his camera, and one by one, the others shut theirs off too. I wonder what Hank's going to do tomorrow when he gets messaged that our entire team put in for their PTO, Kimmy tried to joke.
Surprisingly, the sound of laughter came from Zeke's headset. Yeah, no shit, Harvey chuckled.
Don't worry, friends. Just put your time in and I'll approve it before I get mine in.
Guys, I'm gonna go. I need to log off for a bit.
Ren's voice was sunken. Wait! Before you go! I don't want this to be the last time I see you guys, Lena said as she fought back tears.
They made plans to connect again on the night after Christmas, one last get-together for the team family before the world flipped upside down. And then, one by one, they left the room, everyone needing to step away to get themselves together. Zeke was shocked. Despite the dread and helplessness he had yet to shake since hearing the news, he found himself looking forward to that get-together. He knew the utter futility of it, but he didn't care. He didn't even care that being in that moment would also mean being one full month closer to the apocalypse. He still found himself looking forward to it with anticipation. Walking out of his office and back into his kitchen, Herman and Cagney still soaking in the weather, the anticipation overcame even the sadness he was feeling after having to deliver the news. His mind was searching and grasping for anything positive to hold on to, and it was grabbing at the anticipation for that meeting with everything it had. He shook his head, knowing that he could feel the anticipation later when he was lying in bed that night. There was still too much time left in the day and too many other things that required his attention. Zeke unloaded his car, stacking the food and water in the home's spare bedroom. Once it was unloaded, he went back into his office, turning back to his dry erase boards. Now that he had a plan for his supplies, it was time to look at what he wanted to do with the rest of his stint as a living, breathing person.